Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Together. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Praishu Bhadrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shruti Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Kali Narayana, unto Naranarayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shriya Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering a service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of God, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumidam Nina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. So the numbers that I have in our Harmony are Canto 3, Chapter 4, verse 14.
You have the range?
To 22. 14 to 22. Okay. So the topic of this class is Krishna's contradictory activities, which we touched a little bit in the last classes. I mean, actually, pretty much in all the last classes we've had this week. So we're going to get a little further into that. Would anyone like to do, before we read these, a little recap of what we've read so far this week? You can do the recap also. Okay, so basically, there was a little misunderstanding yesterday. We thought that Vidura was talking to Maitreya because that's the title of the chapter, but actually Uddhava is talking to Vidura, and further in this chapter, he's going to instruct Vidura to approach Maitreya, which has not yet happened. So what's happening is, Vidura has been on this like spiritual seeking journey for some time, and then he meets Uddhava after a very long time, and he inquires about Krishna, but by then Krishna has left the planet, and all of his family members from the Yadu dynasty have also left the planet. So Uddhava is like in this really like emotional place, and he explains how that came about to Vidura. And so in the story that Uddhava is narrating to Vidura at the moment, the Yadu dynasty is about to come to an end by self-destruction. They're basically going to kill each other, which I don't know if it's going to be covered later maybe, but I think most of you know about it, and if you don't, well, we can talk about it later. But Krishna knows that this is about to happen, so he kind of retreats away to prepare himself for leaving the earth himself, and he takes shelter of the Saraswati river, and he's kind of just like, I don't know, chilling there. And Uddhava, feeling so much separation from him, follows him to the Saraswati river and then approaches Krishna, and then they get to have a really personal talk. So Uddhava is narrating to Vidura his conversation with Krishna by the Saraswati river, and that's where we're currently at. Yeah. Okay, so we can start reading verses.
Uddhava said, O Vidura, when I was thus favored at every moment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and addressed by him with great affection, my words failed in tears, and the hairs on my body erupted. After smearing my tears, I, with folded hands, spoke like this.
Maybe we can like switch like this.
O my Lord, devotees who engage in the transcendental loving service of your lotus feet have no difficulty in achieving anything within the realm of your four principles of religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. But, O Great One, as far as I am concerned, I have preferred only to engage in the loving service of your lotus feet.
My lord, even the learned sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see that your greatness engages in fruitive work, although you are free from all desires, that you take birth, although you are unborn, that you flee out of fear of the enemy and take shelter in a fort, although you are the controller of invincible time, and that you enjoy householder life surrounded by many women, although you enjoy in yourself.
Oh, my Lord, your eternal self is never divided by the influence of time, and there is no limitation to your perfect knowledge. Thus, you were sufficiently able to consult with yourself. Yet, you called upon me for consultation, as if bewildered, although you are never bewildered. And this act of yours bewilders me.
My Lord, kindly explain to us, if you think us competent to receive it, the transcendental knowledge which gives enlightenment about yourself and which you explained before to Brahmaji.
When I thus expressed my heartfelt desires unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the lotus eyes Lord instructed me about his transcendental situation.
I studied the path of understanding self-knowledge from my spiritual master, personality of Godhead, and thus after circumambulating him, I come to this place very much aggrieved due to separation.
My dear Vidura, now I am mad for want of the pleasure of seeing him. Just to mitigate this, I am now proceeding to Badarikashrama in the Himalayas for association, as I have been instructed by him.
Wait.
Here in Badrik Asrama, the personality of Godhead in its incarnation as the sages Nara and Narayana has been undergoing great penance since time immemorial for the welfare of all amiable living entities.
Okay, so what have we just read? We've read that basically Uddhava inquired to Krishna when they were by the Saraswati River about his transcendental position because he's confused or bewildered, quote unquote, by his contradictory activities. So Uddhava is not actually bewildered. Prabhupada says that in the purport, but for the benefit of everyone, and especially for the benefit of Maitreya, who also is witnessing that conversation between Krishna and Uddhava. He asked these questions, and then he tells Vidura, to whom he's talking in the present of the of that story, that after his conversation with Krishna, so he didn't say what Krishna told him about his transcendental position. He didn't go into it. He just said, yeah, I asked him about that, and then I left. He didn't explain like Krishna's transcendental position, or what Krishna said about that. And then he told Vidura, after that, I went to the Badarika Ashram, which is like a great site of pilgrimage in India, to absorb himself in Krishna, basically, Krishna consciousness. Yeah, and our verse today is 16, our focus verse, 16. Karmanyaniyasya bhavo bhavasyate. Durgashayotari bhayat parayanam. Alatmano yat pramadayutashraman. Swatman rate kiryati tirvitammiha. Karmanyan nihasya bhavo bhavasyate. Durgashrayothari bhayat palayanam. Kalatmano yat pramadayutashraman. Swatman rate kiryati tirvidammiha. Karmanyanihasya bhavo bhavasyate. Durgashrayothari bhayat palayanam. Kalatmano yat pramadayutashraman. Swatman rate kiryati tirvidammiha. Please chant. Karmanyanihasya bhavo bhavasyate. Durgashrayothari bhayat palayanam. Kalatmano yat pramadayutashraman. Swatman rate kiryati tirvidammiha. Karmanyaniyasya bhavo bhavasyate. Durgashrayothari bhayat palayanam. Kalatmano yat pramadayutashraman. Swatman rate kiryati tirvidammiha. Karmanyanihasya bhavo bhavasyate. Durgashrayothari bhayat palayanam. Kalatmano yat pramadayutashraman. Swatman rate kiryati tirvidammiha. Okay, can we go directly to translation? Yes. Okay, let's say it together. My Lord, even the learned sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see that your greatness engages in fruitive work, although you are free from all desires, that you take birth, although you are unborn, that you flee out of fear of the enemy and take shelter in a fort, although you are the controller of invincible time, and that you enjoy household life surrounded by many women, although you enjoy in yourself. Okay. Someone wants to read the purport. I'm gonna stop you guys in there, but if someone wants to start.
Purport. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Pure devotees of the Lord are not very much concerned with philosophical speculation in regard to transcendental knowledge of the Lord. nor is it possible to acquire complete knowledge of the Lord. Whatever little knowledge they have about the Lord is sufficient for them because devotees are simply satisfied in hearing and chanting about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. This gives them all transcendental bliss. But some of the pastimes of the Lord appear contradictory even to such pure devotees, and thus Uddhava asked the Lord about some of the contradictory incidents in his pastimes. The Lord is described as having nothing to do personally, and it is actually so because even in the creation and sustenance of the material world, the Lord has nothing to do. It seems contradictory then to hear that for the protection of his unalloyed devotion, that the Lord personally lifts the Govardhan hill for the protection of his unalloyed devotees. The Lord is the supreme Brahman, the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, appearing like a man. But Uddhava had doubts whether he could have so many transcendental activities.
We can continue. We can
Oh.
keep going.
There is no difference between the personality of Godhead and the impersonal Brahman. How then can the Lord have so many things to do, whereas the impersonal Brahman is stated to have nothing to do, either materially or spiritually? If the Lord is ever unborn, how is he born as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki? He is fearful, even to Kala, the supreme fear, and yet the Lord is afraid of fighting Jarasandha and takes shelter in a fort. How can one who is full in himself take pleasure in the association of many women? How can he take wives and, just like a householder, take pleasure in the association of family members, children, relatives, and parents? All these apparently contradictory happenings bewilder even the greatest learned scholars, who, thus bewildered, cannot understand whether inactivity is a fact or whether his activities are only imitations.
Okay, I want to stop here for a little bit. So this is all about Krishna's contradictory activities, right? So Uddhava is asking about particular activities that happened. He mentioned how he took birth from from Devaki, but from the union of Vasudeva and Devaki. And he mentioned how he fled in fear of Jarasandha and took shelter in a fort. And he mentioned how he took pleasure in the association of many women. So I think we hear a lot about the Lord taking birth from Devaki and the prison. So I'm not going to go into that one today. But the one that I did want to go a little bit into is the pastimes of Krishna fleeing the battlefield and taking shelter in the fort. We did hear about that one, but I think we hear about it a little less often. So I thought it'd be fun to get into it a little bit. So basically, the story is that Krishna killed Kamsa. And as a result of killing Kamsa, the wives of Kamsa became widowed. And they came crying to their father, Jarasandha, blaming Krishna for their poor condition. And then Jarasandha got really, really mad. And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to kill him. So he built up this like huge frustration and anger and envy and other things, and decided to give all his might to killing Krishna. So he actually attacked Dwarka 17 times, trying to kill Krishna and defeat, his armies and all that, and failed 17 times. And along the way, he was getting impatient, and he decided to form an alliance with the demoniac kings that were around. And so with those demoniac kings, he attacked Dwarka 17 times and still failed. And so the demoniac kings were getting impatient. Jarasandha was getting impatient. And so they decided to approach Kalayavana, who's kind of the king of the demoniac kings. It's like the ultimate demoniac king. And he, I don't know, like if he was really interested in what they approached him, but what I do know is that Narada Muni
went to Kalyavana too. And he was like, there's this dude like called Krishna, and he's like very powerful. And he like kind of like, I don't know, like nitpicked at his like false ego and basically convinced them to go attack Krishna, Narada Muni, who's like a great devotee of Lord Krishna. And then, Kalyavana was like, yeah, I want to fight this guy. So he formed an alliance with the demoniac kings and with Jarasandha, and they decided to attack Dwarka at the same time, but from different places. And so Jarasandha is attacking from one place, Kalyavana is attacking from the other place, and Krishna arranged it in a way that he would be facing Kalyavana and Balaram would be taking care of Jarasandha. And so he's facing Kalyavana. Kalyavana is like this amazing mystic yogi, like super powerful. And he's facing him and he's like, yeah, nope. And he starts running away from Kalyavana. And Kalyavana is like, how dare you? And then he starts running after Krishna. And then it's described that as he's running after Krishna, he feels as though he's right about to get in. Like every moment he feels like I'm going to catch Krishna, but he can never actually touch him. And in the descriptions of that pastimes, it says that the reason why is because mystic yogis can never actually reach Krishna. The only people that can reach Krishna are devotees of Krishna. And so Kalyavana, no matter how eager he is to catch him, he's not able to catch him. And it also says that it's because, secondly, he's not fully cleansed of his sinful reactions. And so that's also why he's not able to touch Krishna. But we don't need to worry about that because we're in bhakti. So our sinful reactions are automatically being worked on by following this process. So he's running after Krishna. He can't catch him, and then Krishna leads him to this cave. So it refers to a fort here. The fort is a cave. I don't know why they chose different words, but it's the same story. And so he goes into this cave, and then Kalyavana arrives in the cave, and he sees this guy like lying on the floor, and he's like, he was running away from me this whole time, and now he's just lying there. And he gets really angry, and he just takes all his strength and kicks him. And then the guy lying on the floor wakes up, and he's like, what's happening? He looks around him, and he looks at Kalyavana, and then Kalyavana suddenly burns to ashes in an instant. So then the guy, who's not Krishna, but Muchukunda, looks around and sees Krishna, who now is there. And Krishna approaches him and explains to him what happened. Well, he didn't really explain. Muchukunda kind of gets it. He's like, oh, this man was like he called him a barbarian. And he says that the reason why he burned to ashes is because of his past sinful reactions. And then Krishna, anyways, he's like, Muchukunda, you've prayed to me repetitively over, in the past. And so I came here before you to offer your benediction. So who's this Muchukunda? Muchukunda is a really great king that existed way, 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 way in the past of this particular story. And when the demigods were going through a really rough time battling with the demons, Muchukunda was the only person that actually had the ability to protect the demigods. And so for an incredibly long time, I don't know exactly the number, but a crazy long time, like all his I don't know exactly how long, but very, very long, like all his family members, his wives, all the people that he knew from his life had already passed by the time he accomplished his, mission of protecting the demigods. So everyone was gone, and he also, if I'm not wrong, he hadn't been sleeping like this whole time. He was like super tired, super exhausted. So the demigods were like, okay, we're safe now. We have Kartikeya as our general. We're safe from the demons. Like we're good. You've pleased us very much. What benediction can we give you? And they said also, we cannot give you liberation because only Krishna, the Supreme Lord, can offer you that. So Muchukunda was like, I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep uninterruptedly. And I want the first man that I see when I wake up to burn to ashes. Yeah. Well, he says whoever wakes me up and whoever I see like first. And so yeah, so and then the demigods are like, okay, whoever is that insensitive person that's gonna wake you up is gonna be burned to ashes. So be it. And so that's how Kala Yavana ended up dying. And that's also, that was a whole arrangement of Lord Krishna. So this is one of the pastimes that seem contradictory, which I wanted to get into. The reason it's contradictory is because I just told you the intricacies of it to some extent because I only know so much. But the point is, there's so many intricacies. But if you're from an outside perspective looking at this story, all you see is, oh, Krishna ran away from Kalyavana, and then he didn't even kill him himself. He just like had some other guy kill him, So it kind of just looks like he's not that powerful and he's scared, but actually it was a multifaceted plan from Lord Krishna to glorify Muchukunda, to give him a benediction, to fulfill the benediction that he already had, and also to show that great mystic yogis just cannot reach Krishna, and also that there's a need for like cleansing of your sinful acts, like in the sense that if you're very sinful and you're trying to catch Krishna, it's not going to work. You need to go through some type of process, which is what we're doing. So yeah. So every story is from Krishna.
He didn't chicken out.
He just outsourced, you said?
He outsourced.
Yeah. Yeah. And even to a more subtle level, like every energy in this world, like every single living entity, every single thing in this world is an energy of Lord Krishna. So technically, he is the one that killed him, even though it was through Muchukunda. But yeah, if you're not aware of all these details, then it's easy to think that what he's doing doesn't make sense. Okay, let's keep reading the report. Oh, I also wanted to say that it mentions about Krishna's association with many women, but we covered that in the class very recently. I forgot the name of the Prabhu that was talking about it. Do you remember? Okay, you guys remember it was him? Okay, I don't remember, but it must have been him. Yes, that's what I meant. So he already went into it, and it was really nicely explained. So I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, but it was nice how he explained that his relationship with these women was transcendental and not out of sense gratification, basically. Okay, let's keep reading. Who wants to read? Thank you.
The solution is that the Lord has nothing to do with anything mundane. All his activities are transcendental. This cannot be understood by mundane speculators. For the mundane speculators, there's certainly a kind of bewilderment. But for the transcendental devotees, there's nothing astonishing in this. The Brahman conception of the absolute truth is certainly the negation of all mundane activities, for the Param Brahma conception is full with transcendental activities. One who knows the distinctions between the conception of Brahman and the conception of the Supreme Brahman is certainly the real transcendentalist. There is no bewilderment for such transcendentalists. The Lord himself also declares in Bhagavad Gita 10:2, even the great sages and demigods can know hardly anything about my activities and the transcendental potencies. The right explanation of the Lord's activities is given by Grandfather Bhishma Dev as follows.
You can click on that. That's the end of the report.
Click on this.
And maybe read the translation.
O King, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exquisitely, they are bewildered.
And maybe the purport too. It's not that long.
Purport. The bewilderment of Maharaj Yudhishthira over his past sinful acts and the resultant sufferings, etc., is completely negated by the great authority Bhishma, one of the 12 authorized persons. Bhishma wanted to impress upon Maharaj Yudhishthir that since time immemorial, no one, including such demigods as Shiva and Brahma, could ascertain the real plan of the Lord. So what can we understand about it? It is useless also to inquire about it. Even the exhaustive philosophical inquiries of sages cannot ascertain the plan of the Lord. The best policy is simply to abide by the orders of the Lord without argument. The sufferings of the Pandavas were never due to their past deeds. The Lord had to execute the plan of establishing the kingdom of virtue, and therefore his own devotees suffered temporarily in order to establish the conquest of virtue. Bhishma Dev was certainly satisfied by seeing the triumph of virtue, and he was glad to see King Yudhishthir on the throne, although he himself fought against him. Even a great fighter like Bhishma could not win the battle of Kurukshetra because the Lord wanted to show that vice cannot conquer virtue, regardless of who tries to execute it. Bhishma Deva was a great devotee of the Lord, but he chose to fight against the Pandavas by the will of the Lord because the Lord wanted to show that a fighter like Bhishma cannot win on a wrong side.
Yeah, there's so much in there, but what I wanted to bring out from this purport is how personal this he made like Krishna's plan sound like. So basically, we hear about all these stories, like grandiose stories, like he lived over Nan Hill, or like bewildering stories, like he fled, Jarasandha or Kalayavana on the battlefield. He married 16,108 wives. Like we hear about this, but like there's always a way that we can apply Krishna's teachings to our personal lives. And here it explains how there was a purpose to Yudhishthira being put on the throne, because Yudhishthira is feeling super guilty. He's like, all this, like, I don't know how many people, like thousands and thousands and thousands of people died so that I can be made king. And then he feels like he's been sinful. And Krishna is like, actually, Bhishma is like, no, that's not what it is. That you're trying to like make conclusions out of Krishna's plans, but that's not the actual conclusion. And then similarly, the Pandavas and their mother, Queen Kunti, they were all put in very, very painful situations. And what I really like about this report that he says, the Pandavas weren't put into these situations because of their sinful acts. It was some type of plan from Krishna. There was a whole like reason behind it. Actually, there were more than one reasons. There were many reasons for things to happen like that. So how can we apply this to our own life? Is what I was reflecting on. Because especially when we go through something difficult, like a challenge or I don't know, a painful situation, and we think, why was I put in that situation? Like, why do I have to go through this? Why did this happen to me? And then in the moment, especially while you're still experiencing it, you're thinking like, I don't get it. I don't understand. It feels bewildering. And then we might kind of hit our head against the wall trying to figure out like the reasons behind it. Like, what am I supposed to learn from this and all that? Or is it because I know that I personally will go and think like, which devotees do, but like I'll go and think, oh, this must be like some type of karma that I'm paying off or something. But the thing is, we actually don't know, because there's so many reasons for us to go through difficult situations. It could be Krishna is giving you a little bit of your past karma because that little bit of your past karma is going to benefit your spiritual progress. It could be that he wants to increase your feelings of devotion for him, and so he's putting you through this situation. He does that a lot to a lot of devotees. Like even in the stories, it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna bring you through this because then you're gonna really love me. And it works. It actually works. It could also be that you're desiring something which you're not aligned with in your actions and situation in your current like life. So for example, oh yeah, this is a very like random example that's not true to me, but I just thought for you guys to understand. Let's say like I pray to Krishna, I really, really want to be healthy. Like I really want to be physically healthy. I've been struggling with my health. Please, Krishna, help me. I want to be healthy. but then I have an addiction to sugar and I eat like sweets every single day, 3 times a day. And then I'm kind of hoping that Krishna just kind of miraculously make me healthy. And that's not really how it works. In a situation like that, what Krishna is likely to do is he's going to help you work through that addiction so that you can recover from it, and then you're going to be able to be healthier. He doesn't usually he might, but he doesn't usually miraculously get rid of your problems. He helps you remove the obstacles that you've created for yourself. And so that's also one of the reasons why you might be going through something difficult, because maybe something that you desire, maybe something that you're doing is misaligned with something that you're praying for or something that you're desiring. So yeah, the point is there's so many reasons why Krishna might arrange something in your life, and you'll probably get really mentally distressed trying to figure out what it is while you're going through that situation. But I'm sure that most of us have the experience of going through something and realizing way later why we went through it. Like, oh, like I lost this person in my life at that time of my life. Like, why did I have to go through this? And then later on, you realize that it taught you things that are allowing you to be the person that you want to be now. That's a reference to my life. But the point is that things that you go through, sometimes they come with lesson and they guide you onto a specific path that are beneficial for you spiritually. But it's hard to tell when you're in it. And some things also never get answered. But the point is that you can trust that Krishna cares about you. That's the only thing you can be certain of. He wants to protect you, and he has your highest good in mind. And so whatever he puts you through has a bigger purpose behind it, There's a reason for it happening. And it's out of care. I remember feeling like that at some point, like I was feeling this, like, man, like this is happening, like maybe Krishna kind of just wants me to suffer. But I think that's like kind of ignorance kind of influenced consciousness, because we think Krishna doesn't have our highest good in mind, which is not true. Krishna is literally the most compassionate, merciful, and loving person in the whole entire creation. So yeah, what we can rest assured of is that Krishna cares about it. And so when we go through something difficult, what we can remind ourselves is, oh, okay, so if I'm going through this, it means that there's some purpose to it. And I know that Krishna cares about me. So let me try to experience what he's trying to teach me here. Yeah. There's something else I wanted to. Okay, cool. Okay, can I just okay, there's just one more thing I want to bring up in relation to this, because the subject of this class is Krishna's contradictory activities. And so, as we heard many times, Krishna's activities are multifaceted. There's so many reasons why he does what he does. Part of it often is to help his devotees that are in suffering. Like, for example, he comes to this earth and devotees are praying because they're in suffering conditions, or the people of the earth are in suffering conditions, and so Krishna comes to relieve them of their miseries. He also comes to deliver the fallen. So by that I mean, when he kills a demon, he's actually doing them a favor. Like he's helping them clear out their sinful acts so that they can continue their progress toward him from a cleaner slate. And another reason is to enjoy personal relationships with his devotees. And we talked earlier as how Krishna does enjoy things that seem to be material, like romantic relationships and wealth and power and all these things. But it's different. The way that he enjoys it is different from the way that we enjoy it. And the difference is that everything in all of the creations is an expansion or energy of Lord Krishna. Meaning that whenever he enjoys something, he's enjoying himself. So you're a part and parcel of Krishna. You're a tiny, tiny little expansion of Krishna. And when he enjoys with you, he's enjoying a part of himself. But when we try to enjoy something else, we like you're not expansions of me, right? So if I try to enjoy my relationships with you, it's a little more selfish because I'm trying to enjoy something that doesn't belong to me, something that belongs to Krishna. And so that's why it makes it different. I'm doing it from a selfish place. But Krishna already has everything within himself. And everything that is outside or seemingly outside of himself is just an embodiment of his internal or external, like his own energies. So he's only enjoying with himself. And we are not that, right? we're not the source. So what does that make of us? Okay, let's say we are a tiny, tiny embodiment of some part of Krishna's qualities, right? Even if though we're outside of him, those qualities that we have, he also has within himself. So he's complete. He doesn't need anything else. But it's much more pleasurable to enjoy something that you can relate to than enjoy it within himself. So he's complete with whether or not he's enjoying it externally, but he feels more pleasure when he enjoys it externally. So our value lies in who we are as spirit souls. Whatever it is that you are, that is your value. That is what you have to offer to this world. And that is the reason to your existence. We, I think, are all kind of looking for a place of belonging or something to offer and something to exist for. Well, our very essence is what we exist for, is what is the value that we have. And the way to use that is by letting Krishna enjoy it. That's the best pleasure that he will experience, and that's the best pleasure that we will experience. Okay. Questions, comments, and such things. Okay, I'll go with you first. Wait, he's been waiting for some time. Yeah.
Horrible. Thank you. I have a question.
Yes.
You spoke about Krishna's protection,
Yes.
and I have heard an argument from mostly materialistic people who say, well, you pray to God for protection, but you still get sick, you still go through problems, you still die. So what kind of protection is that? Could you speak more on that?
Okay. Well, that kind of taps into the what is Krishna's plan whole dilemma that we've been talking about in this entire class. It's like when something difficult happens to us, well, first of all, dying is like just part of the experience in the material world because we're not these bodies. We don't actually die. The body dies and then we move on. So there's no such thing as like protecting us from death. We never die. The body dies. The body is temporary. But when it comes to difficult things like sickness and loss and all these things, that comes into Krishna's plan that I was explaining earlier. There's so many reasons why these things happen. Could be because of past karma. Could be because he wants to intensify your feelings for him. Could be because there's something to purify about your consciousness. And that purification will allow you to live a life that's more aligned with what you desire to experience. Like that's when I brought up the example about praying to be healthy. So yeah, there's many reasons and we won't be able to like find the ultimate answer. But if we trust that he cares about us, then we don't need to worry about that. That was kind of the point. Okay, someone else.
Yeah, sticking on that exact topic, actually. How
Is your mic on?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
How do you prevent the mind from bewildering itself, trying to contemplate what the answer is? How do you release that? How do you let it go and just let Krishna? How do you stop? You know what I'm saying? Do you get my question?
Yeah, I get it. I can only share like what I do. I cannot give you like an ultimate answer. But what I do when this happens to me and that's been working for me is I don't try to like prevent the bewilderment. I don't try to like uh force myself to feel any different way than I'm feeling because that doesn't really work. That just represses it and then kind of like builds up over time. What I do is I go to my deities and I cry and I tell them, this is happening. I feel like this and this and that. And then I lie down and I look at him and I'm like, look, it's in your hands. I don't know what to do with this. And somehow he takes care of it. And then the bewilderment goes away by his mercy only, not by my own effort.
Hare Krishna. One thing I was thinking is that perhaps a lot of people make what I would call a mistake and view suffering as something that's bad or wrong. And actually, our suffering and pain ends up oftentimes being the biggest blessing that we have. And so we can be grateful for the pain and the suffering because we're learning through that experience in ways that we can't learn whenever all we know is just sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. On a spiritual platform, there's no duality. There's no like pain versus happiness. Everything is transcendental. So pain serves the same purpose as happiness does, just like you said. It's a really good point.
Because then we don't want to suffer. And because we don't want to, we're resisting it.
Because we're not at that transcendental platform yet. We still identify with the dualities of material existence. So we're going to go through that for some time, but this process helps.
I was reflecting that Krishna is full of these contradictions and paradoxes, and we see also this in Srila Prabhupada in his writings. There's so many points that he makes that seem contradictory, and then we also see this in the Vaishnavas. We might witness things that feel contradictory or paradoxical, and a big part. I've heard this in a class here years ago. I think a big part of our developing Krishna consciousness is learning to hold space for opposing ideas that are both correct and both beautiful and true. Because if we're unable to do that, it might cause us to make offenses or just resist change or resist the messages that we're receiving. So yeah, I think this was a beautiful class, and that a big takeaway for me is like this lesson of gradually learning how to hold space for opposing ideas within myself.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Oh, okay. Let's do one.
This is for me the thought that the Lord's plan is really inconceivable, and that actually using your intellectual efforts or energy to actually figure out why or what's going on is actually useless, and it's a much better way to spend that energy on just it reflects our attitude. One is that we're trying to master the material energy, basically. We're trying to dig into because the assumption is I can understand. But instead of using that assumption and basic stance on existence, we can just surrender and be a student and say, everything here is for me to learn something so I can know the Lord a little bit, and just be open to anything that comes. Even if it's an experience that is unpleasant, if we are able to be detached from that idea that this is, if we're a little detached, then we can see actually, there's something I can learn here, and the Lord is the sustainer of this universe, so it doesn't really matter that my tiny little suffering, I can just try to serve it in any way I can. But it's obviously like not so easy when something does hit in your face. Like you're just like, what the heck? And then, but having this philosophical understanding really grounds us and helps us. That was a reflection. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Okay,